we're reconnected, so I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on it on my desktop. Sorry about that, guys. So if there's a super long pause in the middle of the video, I apologize. That was me trying to figure out how to get this thing reconnected. It's never done that before, so that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not on Wi-Fi, so. But like I was saying, we'll kind of just pick it up from where we were. What was I saying? Oh, launch strategy, which is basically what I said. What I said I was doing with my album currently, having custom merch for it, and just making sure your logo is involved in that and your brand is somehow involved in it, so people can associate your brand with, what they're buying, or your music with what they're buying. Define your merch goals and audience. Are you promoting a specific event or just trying to have something to sell at gigs in general? Be aware of who you are making the merch for and what they might like. Artists often poll their social media followers to determine the kinds of merch items and branded products they might want. If your followers are mostly your real-life friends, then you probably have a clearer sense of what kind of merch might appeal to them. Number 2, brainstorm merch ideas. When figuring out how to make merch, think outside the box. T-shirts, hoodies, and caps are cool, but have you considered beanies, totes, bracelets, guitar picks, and drink koozies? Again, what you create depends on your music and your audience. Rap duo Run the Jewels made Meow the Jewels cat food dishes. Jethro Tull made official teapots. A band called the Tree Men attached tree seeds to their EP. However, note that what works for one band won't necessarily work for another. A jam band will have different merch than a Christian band. For example, think of merch as an extension of your artistic identity. Manufactured items are great, but items that you produce yourself can often be seen as more valuable by your crowd. Jeffrey Lewis creates comic books in addition to writing songs, and Hamill on Trial makes paintings of famous musicians and other celebs. Robin Hitchcock sold plastic traffic cones that he'd drawn on at his shows in the 90s and 2000s. Artists commonly sell their own books these days as well. Do you have an artistic skill that translates into something sellable? As you consider how to make your own merch, keep in mind that esoteric items particular to you can be extremely memorable and valuable to your audience. Which, I know some artists who, they also draw, they also create paintings or sculptures or whatever, and they find ways to incorporate that in there. I think the comic book idea is super cool, so if your brand kind of goes with that theme and you can create some type of story, maybe you pick a song and you make a comic for that song and show like the story playing out as if it were a superhero, story or something like that. I think those types of things are really cool. And you can also partner with someone to create that, which I think is awesome. So keep that in mind as well. Design your merch. Some artists will be able to design their own merch, and others will need to hire professionals. Key elements to consider for merch design and mock-ups: logo and album art, color scheme, and typography. So again, that kind of ties into everything we just said about keeping the brand in mind, and obviously, colors go with branding as well. So if your aesthetic is more dark, want to use blacks, grays, maybe whites, not a lot of vibrant colors. But if you are a pop artist and you make very vibrant, feel-good music, maybe you use the warm colors, maybe you use the brighter greens, pinks, reds, whatever that is. And you should know your brand before making merch, I think. That's pretty obvious. If you don't know your brand, you kind of got to sit down and figure out what that is. What does that look like based on the story you're trying to tell and the audience you're appealing to and all that good stuff. Choose a merch production method. print-on-demand merchandise, which is what I do with Printful. Basically, you can put in, like I said, you can upload your templates, pick your products, and they do all the printing for you. So what you do is you fund the shipping and you pay for whatever it costs for them to do that with the item. And then from there, you can, like I said, you charge people the amount that you want to make back. So whatever that might be. It says profit margins are lower and you have less control over the customization in most cases, but it's a viable option for those lacking disposable funds. Some popular platforms are Printful, Teespring, and Redbubble. Redbubble I like to an extent, but I've always found that Redbubble is basically just buying other people's designs. I don't think you can really always do your own designs like on demand. It's more of, someone uploaded a certain design and I can buy that in bulk if I wanted to. Again, I don't have any experience with Teespring. I would recommend Printful. Like Printful, I haven't had issues. Definitely check them out. And I think you'll be surprised. You'll be pleasantly surprised, and they'll take care of everything you need. And like it says here, you're paying for the convenience of not having to use that money to make the materials to make the clothing or whatever it is you're trying to sell, because they already have all that stuff taken care of on their end. Bulk manufacturing. One of the truisms in how to make merch is that ordering merch in bulk will always save you money in the cost per item. This then gives you a higher profit margin. Bulk manufacturing also often has more options for custom design and packaging. While it requires an upfront investment and inventory storage, bulk ordering will ultimately save you money if you can afford the upfront payment. Popular merch bulk manufacturers include Merchly, Custom Ink, and Vistaprint. I've had experience with Custom Ink. I love their quality of products. I love the printing. It is a bit pricey though, so keep that in mind. And I've heard of Vistaprint. I haven't heard of Merchly, but definitely check those out, weigh your options, see what works best for you. DIY merch for artists with a strong DIY approach, or those who just want to offer something special and custom made. You can print your own merch using local printers or make handmade items like patches, screen printed tie-dyed shirts, or something more personalized. Again, that's if you have the time, if you have the money. If you want to do that, go ahead. I know certain design softwares or programs like Canva that I use a lot, they integrated merch printing, so you can actually design full layouts for t-shirts or hoodies, and they will allow you to see what it looks like, kind of like what Printful would do, but a little bit different. They might even have the on-demand printing now themselves, but I think they allow you to pull the design and kind of work with it from there. And if you want to print it on your own, you can do that. So I think, looking at something like that could work too, and that'll make your life a lot easier than having to figure out how to design things, from scratch or outside the box. Number 5, set your pricing to figure out what you should charge for each product. Calculate how much it costs per product to produce. Include all extraneous costs like shipping and packaging. Then decide on a price that allows you to profit. A rule of thumb companies often use is to take the cost per item and double it. So if it costs you $5 to produce a small poster, sell the item for $10. But especially in these times, keep your prices affordable for your fan base. Robert Smith of The Cure has recently earned tremendous goodwill from keeping ticket prices and merch low for his last tour. His subsequent album release became a worldwide event, not in a small part because of this. Premium items like limited edition vinyl can command a higher price, and stickers and hoodies, obviously, and t-shirts. You can also save your fans money by offering bundle discounts. CDs are $15 a piece, but if you buy all 3, it's $35. That's an example. I always find that interesting because there's a lot of artists that don't give a damn about that. They will just say anything's exclusive and charge way over the amount that it costs just to make that higher profit. But people will pay it because if you're branding and your artistry, if you have the money behind it, where it just stands out like a sore thumb in a good way, people are gonna be willing to spend the money. So I would put a little asterisk beside that one because I think if you got your brand figured out and you can sell and you've proven that you can sell over and over again, I think you can get a little bit lenient with raising your prices. But again, it's all up to you. And I still believe that it's important to not outprice your fans. You got to really understand your demographic, the type of people that are buying and investing in you and your brand. So if if a lot of your listeners are, low income listeners or, middle class, somewhere in there, you're not going to want to charge like $100 for a t-shirt. But again, there's some artists that do that and people will pay for it. So I think you just got to be real honest about where you're at in your career. Maybe it's something you can scale up to eventually if you can figure out the profit margins, if you can figure out how to do the exclusive drops in the right way. I think there's flexibility there. So I will say that, but I agree with what they said about not going too high, especially early on. Start low and just see if you can scale up from there if you have success in doing that. Number 6, set up an online merch store. Whether you use Shopify, Bandcamp, Big Cartel, or sell directly through a Facebook or Instagram shop, you'll need a central online location where followers can purchase your merch. Your merch store should be easy to access from your official artist website. Include clear images, descriptions, and pricing for each product. We obviously talked about setting up an artist site and how you can integrate a shop into that. I've never used Shopify. I have used the Bandcamp store, though. I'm actually selling my vinyl still on the Bandcamp page. Bandcamp is very interesting with the amount that they make people pay. It's a little bit of a weird structure from what I can tell. But if you want to set your own prices, I would probably look at Shopify or just integrating something into your own store. And then you can kind of pick and choose from there, but it is more work, so keep that in mind. And number 7, promote your merch. Make sure your audience is aware that your merch exists. While live shows are the best place to promote your merch, you may have success selling your wares during virtual concerts and live streams as well. You can also attract a merch sale through normal promotional activities such as weekly emails and social posting. Never sell at them. Turns people off and is hatefully annoying. But keep your fans aware of what unique merch exists. With a little grace and humor, using your social media platforms in creative ways to announce the existence of your merch and to your merch should garner sales. I can read, guys. Tactics of scarcity can help drive sales as well, especially online. People love an act now while you can or while supplies last offer of something limited edition. A lot of websites, especially stores, they will market as, almost gone, something like that. Like put almost gone by it or only a few left, something like that to get the sense of urgency for people to be like, okay, I have to invest now. It's either now or never. You kind of want to create a now or never feeling with whoever you're trying to sell to. But like it says, don't push it down their throats. Don't start spamming them, sending them DMs 24/7 about, you're selling merch. It's like if they see it once, they'll get the idea. If they're really interested, they're going to come back to it. Don't spam people. Don't shove it down people's throats. And the final paragraph here, turning merch into a long-term revenue stream. It's true that a well-designed merch piece can bring significantly more attention to a band or artist. You thought you were in the music business, but it turns out you're really in the t-shirt business or the merchandise business, because, yeah, the punk band, okay, I'm not going to read the rest. You can read the rest if you want. But essentially what they're saying is to make a lot of money, doing music, a big part of it is the merch, whether it be the CDs, the vinyls, hoodies, whatever. Because, again, with streaming and the way it is now, artists aren't making a lot on that. They're making it from the live shows, from the merchandise. That's really the two big sellers. And depending on who you are, if you're not even selling, it's hard to even justify, or if you're not even performing, it's hard to even justify that. So you're going to have to make a lot more with the merch. But again, that's why I think it was very important to touch on today. I think it was very important to address it because it is something that I think a lot of artists need to do, including producers like myself. Like I said, I've been looking into how to do this in my own brand and my own music career for a while. And that applies to everything that I've done, including the vinyl release that I've done recently. So something to keep in mind, and hopefully this helps you. I don't know how much of this you're going to see on the replay because, again, in the middle of the stream, we had connection issues for whatever reason. Don't know what that was all about. But I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys can see the whole video on YouTube. And if you see the whole video, you'll see me awkwardly trying to figure out what was going on. You could skip ahead of that, whatever. Things happen. I'm still trying to get used to a lot of this stuff myself, but yeah, I hope what you can see helps you if you're looking to make merch, if you're looking to get that going this summer, especially if you're going to be touring or maybe launching your artist site. Maybe you want to get some merch created. So hopefully this can help. And like I said, check out those other articles in the YouTube replay from Splice, from iMusician. They're both very helpful as well. But we are going to be back next week on April 29th. We're going to be, video indigestion. We're going to be talking about using Bandcamp as an independent artist. My experience with Bandcamp, what you can use it for. Because like I said, I've mentioned Bandcamp a lot. I even mentioned it today about using it to sell the vinyl. And Bandcamp's a really cool platform. It's fallen under a little bit of scrutiny the last couple years, having changed ownership of who owns it. We might discuss some of that as well. Some things to keep in mind. But really, what is the point of Bandcamp as opposed to Spotify or Apple Music or a normal streaming service? So I kind of want to dive into that and what I like about the platform and what I don't really like about it. So just all that good stuff. So, be on the lookout next week. Again, the times are going to kind of vary the next few months. I'm going to try to do around 6 p.m. if I can, but some nights it's going to be earlier. So just keep that in mind. But it's still going to probably be every Tuesday for the time being. So thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for those technical difficulties, but have a safe week. Stay blessed, stay positive, all that good stuff. We'll see you on April 29th. So take care, guys.